I signed a rent-to-rent contract with a landlord who seemed reliable at first, but now they're difficult to communicate with, making constant demands and not fulfilling their responsibilities on maintenance. I think we know that one, innit? We've definitely known that one. How do I handle this situation and prevent it from happening again?
Okay, so the landlord's making demands, basically. They had a good relationship initially, but the landlord's now making demands.
Yeah. So they seemed reliable at first, but then it's kind of just, I don't know, they're not really responding to the person's request for maintenance and stuff like that. So what do you think?
So I think, all right. So the best way to explain that is that we've had that similar situation, which has been a landlord that we've been working with has initially had a really great relationship with Sean, and then all of a sudden, like, viewed the property. Mind you, he viewed the property whilst people were staying there. So we were having different times. We were trying to coordinate a time for him to view on a day where people were not in there. You know, when the cleaners have been in and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't happening. Just when the property
looks like it's best.
Yeah, it's best self, because we can't control how people are going to be acting when they're in the property and how clean. Like, not everyone's the same level of clean. So yeah, he came and he raised some issues, but the way in which he raised the issues, we were kind of like, wait, I thought we were buddies. Like, it was a little bit, it was a bit shady, but I feel like you're going to have that with landlords. I think you can look at it from both sides. Like, landlords are going to be protective of their home. They are going to want things run a certain way, because at the end of the day, it is supposed to be another means of income for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like you should definitely know the difference between an educated landlord. No, that's not what I was looking for. Yeah. You need to know the difference between a greedy landlord and one who is just like clued up, basically. Yeah. So you have ones like, you know, who know about the rental market increase and may want that honoured because they know that the rental increase has gone up to 9% now, slowly going down. But, you know, you might have somebody who's like that. That's clued up, not necessarily being greedy, but they want to know their options because now the rental market has gone up. What does that look like for them? Yeah. But then you have landlords who will just throw out a random number with no evidence behind that number, with no reason behind that number. They know full well if they had given that number to an average tenant, there would have been a lawsuit. So it's like, don't be afraid. You have the upper hand because you're now in the contract, and they can't get rid of the contract just because you're not following what they've said newly. That's not already in the contract. So I think just know that you have the upper hand with that, but also treat it very delicately because you don't know their reasons as to why they're creating so many demands in one go.
100%. I mean, again, looking at the landlord that we dealt with, there were a lot of warning signs that we kind of bypassed because we kind of felt like we had answered all their queries, their initial queries. Obviously, this property was their own property, so we thought that they were acting in their best interest for their own property. But then now it's kind of real, like the way that things have played out just made us realize that maybe they had a game plan the whole time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So looking back, I think it's great the way that we do business, because the way that we've done business, we've put things in the contract that stop people from being able to take advantage of us later down the line. Do you know what I mean? And people can't come into a contract thinking, oh, okay, I'm just going to say I'm going to agree a 3-year contract, but I'm going to kick up a fuss after 12 months so that, you know, I can just get these guys out because it's a company. I don't have to go through the eviction process and stuff like that. So it's just, I think ways that you can go around it is what kind of demands are they putting out straight away, like at the beginning, like initial? Are they actually reasonable? Are they just coming from a protective place? Are they just, greedy demands? What are you putting in your contracts as well? Because again, obviously you've got to make sure that when you do agree stuff, yes, a landlord will have a lot of demands to put in contracts and stuff like that to protect themselves. And a lot of people, because they want their first deal, they want to get a first rent-to-rent deal or whatever, they are happy to kind of bend over backwards to be like, okay, I'll take out this, they'll overcompensate, you know what I mean? Yeah. And in doing that, they leave themselves open with so many loopholes for the landlord to exploit later on down the line. But you have to understand that it's a contract that is for both of you. Yeah. So it has to be a win-win for both sides. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So just having a look at the early signs and making sure that the contract is airtight as well.
Yeah, and the simplicity of it is just also that you don't have to say yes to these demands.
Yeah.
You don't have to say yes.
100%.
You don't have to.
100%.
We don't always say yes, but we also don't always say no. Like, if it's reasonable, then fair. Like, you know, we were saying about one of the landlords we've been working with. He's not asked us a thing. We're like coming into our second year with him now.
No, third year.
Third year with
That's
him.
That's the best thing about it.
And he's never
the best thing about it.
I'm even losing time. He's never complained once. Like, the most he does is call me to let me know that the balcony light has been left on.
Yeah.
By someone else, you know, a company that's staying in there or a family that's staying in there. That's the most he does. Outside of that, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't bother us. And I think if he was to come to us now, considering the money we've made off his property, and was like, listen, I need to charge £100 extra, I wouldn't question it. And to be honest, even if it put us in a tricky situation within the business, not too tricky that we wouldn't be making money, I would strongly consider it. And I'm sure you would too, because he's
100%.
such an easygoing landlord who wouldn't be irrational with the demands that he's requesting. If he's asking for something, he's asking for something.
Yeah.
Even when he like first started working with us, the questions he was asking us were just like fair.
The basic.
Yeah.
Like, he was just
fair.
like, all right, cool.
It's like, so you got a company, right? What's your company name? What's your company number? Fair. Cool. So you've never done this before. You haven't had any money running in your accounts. How can I trust that you can do this? Fair. So all his questions have always been
just about reliability.
Logical. And they've never been like, okay, so say you start making £1,000 profit, like, where do I come into that?
Yeah.
Whereas we have actually had landlords who say things like, you know, the two that we worked with, that we were so happy to get rid of.
Yeah, happy to dispose of
that contract.
No,
like,
not dispose of like that.
No. We are not killers. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
But they were very much like, oh, well, if you're making that amount of money, then what does that mean for us? It's like, it means it's none of your business. Yeah. That's what it means.
Because again, like, when it comes down to it, landlords only want to really go through this model with you if they know about the strategy.
Yeah.
And the most important things is that they get paid on time and their property is looked after.
Yeah.
As long as those two things are done, it's fine.
Yeah.
But then you get the greedy side where they're like, okay, so if you're making that much, that means that I can get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm not just only happy with what I'm getting. I want a slice of your pie as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's where you start getting greedy. And even with the landlord that we was talking about originally, initially the demands that he was coming out with just didn't make any sense. And we had to break it down to him, like, listen, if you're asking for this much, we can't offer you this much because
the house needs to make sense with
the
the
house
rent.
needs to
like,
make sense.
What do you mean?
100%.
You can't be charging for a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom house if your house is a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. Barely the 4th bedroom is a double bedroom. It's maybe like a single room.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's no parking. On top of that, like, the location isn't like you can't be demanding all that.
And it's nasty.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's
because why do you have oil that we've had to scrape off from the ceiling?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? So you've got to just make it. The moral of the story is, just because they're making demands doesn't mean you have to follow those demands, and it doesn't mean you have to say yes. You're locked into a contract. They have to abide by the rules of the contract. That's what the contract is there for. Anything added to that is just a plus or a bonus for either side, depending on who it benefits. So don't be afraid to take charge of it and be like, actually, thanks for sharing that with me. I don't agree, and I don't think it's necessary for us to review this at this point, but I'd be happy to review again in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
And you keep them reviewing. End of.
Simple as.
But yeah.